Good evening everyone, and welcome to a very important live stream as crypto retraces across the market. Prices are down, there's a lot of fear, and there's definitely some blood in the streets. So tonight we're going to look across the market, we're going to look at prices and potential patterns that are playing out in the market. We're going to look back at previous bull runs previous retracements as well and see how this one compares. And hopefully, we're going to settle some nerves in the market. Today has been a bit turbulent as we saw Bitcoin break below key support. We've been in CC Pro a lot today trying to calm some nerves. So if you're not in CC Pro, you've probably missed out on that, and there's probably been a lot of fear through Twitter, through YouTube, and basically every influencer is now calling for $70,000 Bitcoin. People are saying the bull market's over. I just don't believe it, and we're going to show you why in tonight's stream. Drop a like on the stream if you're not in CC Pro. The link is in the chat. Not sure if we'll get time for too many requests, but we'll definitely look at as many charts as possible to try and paint a picture of what we think is happening, and yeah, try and reassure people that the bull run is certainly not over. Let's start with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, like I said, has broken below this key support level that sat around $90,000. We touched as low as $86,000 earlier today, and currently trading just shy of 88k. Now, this, let's be brutally honest, no one expected this. A few months ago, when Trump got elected in November, everybody thought it was up and to the right only. Everybody expected that, but we also didn't expect all-time high before the halving. We also expected that Bitcoin wouldn't reach 100k in 2024. Many people were calling for around 90k to be the top. So this bull run has been completely different, and anyone that says they've got an exact model of how things are going to play out is either lying or they are just gaslighting their audience. What we try and do is paint a picture of what we think is likely to play out, and obviously we are there and invested. We've got skin in the game, and we're always present even when it doesn't play out. So I think to say that we are trading around $87,500 in the 25th of February is unexpected, is an understatement. I, for one, thought we'd be much higher by now. I thought the Trump presidency would have pumped the markets before now, and we're going to cover why that maybe isn't the case, but also why we think there is big things to come in 2025. Let's have a look at the chart. So Bitcoin, we've had a few big wicks down. We obviously had this kind of capitulation event in December. We then saw another one at the start of January and one at the start of February. We have now filled those wicks. So we talk about this a lot, where big wicks, like you can see on the screen, let me just highlight it to make it easier for those watching on a phone. So this wick here, for example, this big sell-off happens, and then a few days later we fill the wick with a candle body almost to the bottom. We talk about this a lot. This plays out a lot in crypto, and the bullish thing right now is we have now filled all the wicks that we had down here, and it looks like we'll probably end up closing the night somewhere in the $87,000 to $88,000 range. From a downside perspective, if we were to get a further sell-off, I think for me this ties in quite nicely. $81,600. That would be the 200-day moving average. It is also the top here, and it's a fair value gap, which if you're in CC Pro you know what that means, but basically the wick from this candle to the wick from that candle creates a gap of liquidity, and they typically get filled as well. So this in here somewhere might be the downside target for Bitcoin. Below that, people are calling for this range high, so around $73,000, and some even calling for lower than that. For me, I am positive that we stay above the 200-day moving average. If we drop below it, then we probably do drop quite hard, quite quickly, and I just don't think that happens. Now, by fall below it, what I mean is a close, a daily, 3-day, or a weekly close below the 200-day moving average. Seems pretty unlikely for me. Everywhere we look, there's bullish news. and eventually that bullish news catches up with price. The news, all the momentum, it's all kind of leading the market, and price is kind of lagging. And we've saw this before. We saw it with the ETF. When the ETF first came out, price actually dropped, even though we just had marginal new buyers in the market. And the reason for this is the market normally prices in things. So in November, we had a massive rally across the crypto space. And this was all speculation. There was no liquidity in the markets, no new liquidity. So it was a pure speculation fueled rally. And then eventually speculation dies off. And without that follow through of liquidity, the markets eventually sold off. And that's what we've seen over the last couple of months. For me, right now, all the buying pressure that's coming from institutions, the pro-crypto legislation that's coming, is leading the market, and eventually price will catch up. Fixed supply Bitcoin will eventually it'll eventually play out. Now, this structure here looks very similar to a structure we've seen play out before. So I just want to look at this period here. This was 2023, the end of the summer. We had, let me just zoom in, because these movements are quite big. This peak to trough here is about 12%. So we had this capitulation event in the middle of August, big wick down, another capitulation, wick down. We then had a bit of a pump, and then eventually we sold off with candle bodies making a new low and the lowest candle body of this period before we eventually moved out of that range. If we look at what is kind of playing out right now, it's very similar in my eyes, that we've had capitulation, and eventually we are now going to drop and hopefully close a daily candle as a new low, and then we'll get a reversal in the coming days and start slowly building our way out of there. If we look at this market structure from back here, we can copy it. Let's just copy here to here and put it over here. We can see that it's quite similar in many respects. Just drag this up. So you can see we had the capitulation event in the middle of December. We then got this pump up, put in a new high, and when we've basically sold off, and this is going to be the lower candle close here before we slowly grind our way up. And as everybody knows, from August 2023 we went on to just grind up slowly and eventually put in new highs. So I do think that we could be seeing the bottom form around here. It wouldn't surprise me if we drop to the 200-day moving average, but if we do hold around here and get a green candle tomorrow, then I would say that was probably the bottom. There's a few factors that go into that as well. If we look at the BNB chart, it's probably a great example of this. And again, very similar patterns. So let's have a look. So with BNB, we had the capitulation event, we bounced, retraced back to that bottom, and then eventually put in a new low, and then we moved on out, and again it was like a slow grind up. In here, for many people that probably weren't around or maybe weren't paying attention right now, because this was the summer, this period in here was peak FUD for Binance, for CZ, for everyone in crypto. I think CZ had maybe just been arrested or sentenced, and all the chat was that Binance coin was going to drop to, I think it was $42 or something like that. So BNB to $42, and at the same time all this bad news was coming out against crypto. typically what happens is amazing news for crypto starts coming out at the top, but it's normally fake news. It's just like partnerships. McDonald's are going to use Polygon for their supply chain. That'll come out at the top in the euphoric stage. Clickbait headlines. In here, it was really bad FUD against Binance. Binance was going to go bankrupt. They were going to have to pull out of the US, which was going to lead to massive sell-off. And BNB was eventually going to drop to $42. There was talk of investigations, more criminal prosecutions, all that stuff. That always shows up at bottoms because it's the final attempt to shake people out of the positions. And people that invest, retail investors that probably spend a couple of hours a week looking at crypto, just see massive red candles and panic sell because they think it is what they've believed it to be. It's a scam. It's what all their friends tell them. It's not worth investing in. And they sell in these moments here around these wicks. And that's eventually when the market reverses. And what have we seen over the weekend? We've saw Bybit being hacked. We've saw people talking about more tariffs for the US against other countries. There's stories of inflation bouncing back. Every story that anyone could throw at crypto to try and dump prices is being used. We've got Bybit apparently being hacked, which I don't know if I believe. The group, the North Korean alleged hackers, apparently are swapping Ethereum for Bitcoin, which is then they're going to convert to get their money out of crypto. These are all just stories to convince you that Bitcoin is going much, much lower. I even saw somebody saying Solana has a massive unlock at the end of the week, so that's going to cause Solana to have a massive sell-off. This is all nonsense. It's just peak fear designed to shake you out your position. So for me, we have two options right now. One is let me find my arrow. One, tomorrow we get a green candle and we start building our way up, and it'll be a slow grind. There'll be pullbacks, but eventually we'll get an explosive move higher once we've worked our way out. The alternative for me is we do bounce and we maybe drop, maybe get a wick below, even a 1 day candle below, and then a follow through with a green candle, and then we do something like that. That is the two paths for me that I think Bitcoin plays out over the coming days. I think we know there's massive bullish momentum in the administration in the US. They're going to lead this crypto rally. There's going to be an injection of liquidity. We know it's coming. We just can't time it right now. So that's what I think for Bitcoin. Let's have a look through some other charts. But ultimately, Bitcoin is the one that is going to dictate where we go next. Oh, and just to add to it, we have finally dropped into fear. Don't think we've been in fear for... Let me see if it shows me. Don't think we've been in fear for a while. But yeah, today we finally dropped into fear. We could actually see that update to extreme fear once they update it. I mean, it's not the most ideal metric, but all you need to do is look on crypto Twitter and you know sentiment is in the gutter, which tells me a bottom's close. If we look at Ethereum on the daily chart, you can see we've retraced to this level here. We've not quite filled this wick yet, so there is potential that we see, if Bitcoin does reverse, we could see altcoins lag behind. We might even get a bit of a move down. However, for me, I actually think the altcoin market's held up well, and a big part of that is the fact that Ethereum and altcoins aren't necessarily dumped by Wall Street. They're not as manipulated right now just because big entities like BlackRock don't hold many altcoins compared to Bitcoin. So I do think this might be the bottom for Ethereum, and you can see it's quite a key level. If we let's put on a horizontal line and then just move left, and I guarantee this line, you can see We bounced off it back in October, back in August. It was also resistance back in February 2024, resistance in December 2023, and we bounced off it back in February 2022, and again it was resistance in 2021. So you could just see that we've retraced a very key level for Ethereum, so it would make sense that we hold here. And the fact that we've recovered from such a big capitulation event, which should have been, the hack should have been a capitulation event, tells me that the FUD against Ethereum is at peak right now. The shorts are at the most in history. There's not much else they can do to dump the price of Ethereum. No one else is selling down here. So yeah, that's what I kind of take from Ethereum, but we need to let it play out over the next few days. And I think the key thing at these times is just taking some time off, chilling out, not checking your charts every 2 minutes, waiting for price moves, because it will drive you insane. Let's look at XRP. I think held up pretty well on the whole. If we look at the daily chart, you can see this level here would be a nice level to close above. This is 218.65. If we close above that, then I would suggest that that's probably the bottom for XRP. It's been one of the strongest coins in the market over the past few months. And if we think we're up about 4x from where XRP traded for months. We traded around 50 cent for what, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months. We're up about 4x since then. The case hasn't been dropped. We've not saw the SEC announce what they're doing with the Ripple case. So what happens when that does get settled? XRP is going to pump harder than you can believe. And that's another reason why this bull run is not over. The SEC, in my opinion, right now, behind closed doors, is lining up pro-crypto legislation, pro-crypto regulation. They're going to sort out the mess left by the previous regime. They're going to approve ETFs, and they're going to pass pro-crypto regulation for banks, for institutions, because ultimately the SEC, regardless if they're pro-crypto, pro-Trump, whatever, the SEC are friends, they're colleagues, they're all in the same category as Wall Street. They basically are just the rule makers of Wall Street. They do as they're told by Wall Street. The SEC is going to make rules that benefit their friends, and their friends all work at big banks, hedge funds, and on Wall Street. So of course the SEC are going to pass this legislation. The only reason they didn't under the last administration is because Biden and Kamala Harris and all them hated crypto. That's about to change, in my opinion, and everybody wants to get filthy rich off it. And the easiest way to do that is pass these ETFs so that they can all invest. Solana taking a bit of a beating this week. Solana apparently has a big unlock on the 1st of March. These things aren't necessarily something I really pay too much attention to. The last 2 unlocks by Solana have saw price pump over 40% in the days after the unlock, which tells me that this selling is just people assuming that the unlock's going to be bearish, and actually the selling event becomes a buy the news. It actually has the opposite effect. Retail is convinced everybody's going to sell because the unlock happens, and actually what happens is price reverses on the unlock because everybody's front ran the actual event. So, like I said, if you're not in CC Pro, you probably missed out on some of the discussion earlier, but there's a lot of discussion that this bull run is either over, it's not happening, or this isn't the way bull runs should play out, which I keep hearing on crypto Twitter. This isn't the way a bull run should play out. A bull run will play out the exact way smart money and big money wants it to play out. We are literally just minions in the game, but understanding that they control it is part of the rules. Okay, so let's have a look at previous bull runs, because this is something that I think people forget or maybe weren't around for and don't understand how to look back on the charts. But if we go back, this was the COVID drop here. Now, Friday the 13th of March, we then kind of double bottomed slightly back in March 2020. But when Bitcoin dropped from $10,500 to $4,000 in the space of a week, people were saying the exact same things they're saying just now. It's over. Crypto's doomed. There's no way we're going to recover from that. Now, while I don't think we can compare today or this week's dump to COVID, it is important to understand that this is just the asset you invest in. You invest in Bitcoin because you want the massive 100%, 200% pumps. Unfortunately, you need to put up with the 30% dumps if that's the case. Otherwise, go and buy Tesla stock. Go and buy a property that appreciates at 8, or you earn a yield of 8% a year if you can't handle the drawbacks. Let's have a look at some of the pullbacks in the previous bull run. So this is 2020 into 2021. So you can see from January 2021 down to the end of January, we retraced 31.4%. Again, up here, when was this? February the 20th, so pretty much bang on this week. We retraced down to the 1st of March, 26%. March 2021, everybody remembers 2021 for the all-time highs, but so far we've got a 31% pullback, we've got 26% pullback. We then had an 18% drawdown in March, and then obviously April we put in an all-time high and we crashed 27.5%. May, sell in May and go away. This will happen again, I'm pretty sure of it. We were at $59,000, we dropped 50%. Can you imagine what was being said then? Crypto was over, El Salvador was buying Bitcoin, just legalized Bitcoin. Why were prices dropping? And we dropped 50%. That's the equivalent of Bitcoin going right now to $40,000. Can you imagine the chaos if Bitcoin went to $40,000 right now? We're basically at 90k and everybody is freaking out. And then even the second half of the year, we had a 13% drop in here. That was, what was that, August. From September to the end of September, we had a 25% drawdown. And then just before the last all-time high, we had a 14.5% drawdown before we topped and then crumbled into a bear market. The point in me drawing all these on isn't to freak people out. It's so that people understand that this is just the asset you invest in. But what we've not talked about is from the bottom on the 28th of February in 2021 to April, Bitcoin pumped over 50% from $43,000 up to $64,000. And in that time, altcoins went on to new all-time highs. The altcoin market put in a new all-time high, and ultimately everybody made huge gains on their crypto portfolio. So it's a cliche saying, but you just have to put up with these drawdowns, these retracements, because that's ultimately why you get the volatility to the upside. No, I think liquidity's going to start flowing very soon, and I'll show you why. I think we'll see it might not be the final top of the market, but we'll definitely see an all-time high for Bitcoin and the altcoin market before May, or around May, before everybody finishes for the summer, which is usually the second half of May. I think we'll see all-time high for the altcoin market. And one of the big reasons is, well, there's a few reasons, but one of the main ones is the DXY. So I show this in most streams. I actually covered this in alpha this week, but if we look at the DXY, we can see that we peaked back here in 2022. We've then went into a sideways range. Instead of breaking down from that range, we actually got a bit of a pump, and we retraced back up to the 702 level. We then got rejected, but there was a bit of fight left in the tank, and we tried to get back up and test the 702. Unfortunately, wasn't enough strength, and the DXY now starts crumbling. Now, if we look at this period here, this was the bull run from 2020 to the end of 2021, caused by the DXY dropping. If we look at this period here, this is the 2017 bull run, and this is also Trump's last time in office. And what's really interesting about this is we see this kind of false rally and then proper capitulation in the dollar, and I think we're just in here in this last few breaths of the dollar strength, and then we're going to see proper capitulation. And I think this is tinfoil hat stuff, but Donald Trump came out of office, first thing he said was he wanted rate cuts. No one was suggesting rate cuts due to strength in the economy, strength in the stock market, and unemployment, not to mention inflation. So that's fair enough. So people were saying can't cut rates due to those things. Well, under Trump, the Doge Commission has just made about 1 million people unemployed through slashing budgets at the federal government. You've then got terrible economic data. So you've got unemployment rising, you've got sentiment at all-time lows, you've got production manufacturing worsening every month, and now you've got the sell-off in stocks. All of that combined, I think if we look at, is it Microsoft? Yeah, Microsoft is now down 15% from its high. Microsoft's $3 trillion business. Nvidia down 16%. I'm sure Google down 14%. So you've now got a weakening stock market, and that to me is going to give the Fed the leeway and the runway to start cutting rates. And then if you factor in what Trump wants to do from a productivity side to grow GDP, then rate cuts can happen, because the only time rate cuts can't happen is when you've got falling GDP. But if they can increase GDP through cheap oil and through AI, crypto productivity, then they can cut rates and it won't lead to mass inflation. So I think this is completely manufactured, completely manipulated to give the Fed the opportunity and the leeway to cut rates. And if we look at the US yields, what can we see? There we go. The 10-year yield in the last, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, since the middle of January, the 10-year yield's down 10%. Mortgage rates are coming down, which again takes pressure off of people's budgets, which takes pressure off of inflation. The 3-month looks like it's on the verge of breaking down. The 3-month yield is basically what the Fed does. It leads the Fed. So if this drops, the the Fed will drop rates. So it all paints this picture of liquidity coming. And then you've got gold. So I've spoke about this a few times, spoke about it on a podcast, but this period here, from the end of October until this period here, this was the start of November, gold had ran up. Gold was up 20%, then went into a consolidation pattern between end of October and the middle of December. And what did Bitcoin do? Let me find it on this chart. So here is the 1st of November until the 12th of December. Bitcoin was up over 47%. So if we get a cooling off in the gold market, which might be a slow grind up, it might just tail off, it might not be this extreme, then I do think Bitcoin and crypto will follow, and gold typically leads. And gold is telling us that liquidity is coming. Gold is telling us they're about to debase currencies all around the world. That's what gold pumping means. It means that there's a devaluing of currency incoming. That is the only reason for gold to rally. Gold moves opposite to the strength of currency. Gold pumping is telling everybody they're going to print trillions of dollars. And yeah, I think everybody just needs to chill out, to be honest. Let's have a look at the chat. Can we cover the Kontoshi bot? Yeah, I'll cover that in a second. Craig Murray's asking for us to look at Favor seed round. And Usman saying, are we cooked? Nah, mate. I've been on for 35 minutes explaining why we are absolutely not cooked yet. So hopefully, if you just tuned in, go back to the start, because I think if we take out these fluctuations, on the whole, the picture is very rosy. The outlook is bullish. It would be easy to come on here and post some doom charts saying we're going to, I don't know, I saw somebody saying 70k today. I saw even lower. I saw somebody, I think it was TMG, saying 62k. This is just clickbait. People just want people to click on their tweets and watch their crazy videos. It's not happening. I don't actually have BloFin on this laptop, but if you're not signed up to BloFin to take part in the copy trading bot, you need to use the link in CC Pro. So use the link, sign up, deposit $500, and then you can start copying the trading bot. So I'll give you a brief overview of how it works, because again, prices are down, people are flapping. It's normal, it's totally understandable. The bot is designed to trade small positions, which means that you have a very low chance of getting liquidated. So I think on the Bitcoin long, the only chance of getting liquidated is if it goes to 70k. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion. So the bot has an amazing win rate, but at times there will be significant fluctuations. One of the reasons we introduced the bot was, if you're just holding spot, let's take a coin. Let's take Chainlink just as a random coin. But if you hold Chainlink right now, you're literally just sitting. You don't do anything. You're not earning money. You're down, you're up, you're down, you're up a bit, you're up a bit more, and then you're back down, you're up, down, up, down. Well, if you hold spot Chainlink, you're not making any money during these moves. A trending market, you're just waiting on Link going to, I don't know, $36, $50, whatever your target is, before you start selling some. Meanwhile, the market's chopping around, up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, a trading bot can make the most of that. So some days it'll make a tiny percent. It might make $5 one day. But if you compound that over, we've been in kind of sideways movement for like the best part of the last year, especially last summer. If you compound that over that time, these small daily wins slowly add up. So it's designed for small positions, so the profit amount in dollars might be small, but it's designed not to get liquidated because it's such a small position. So it means it can have massive drawdowns. The whole point in the bot was to capitalize on these markets and the up-down price movement all the time. But it was also designed not for you to sit and watch it all day long. It's a trading bot. It's designed to just run in the background. One of the beauties for me of it being on BloFin is I don't actually use BloFin for anything other than trading. So right now, if I'm not personally trading, then I can just let the bot run without looking at it every day, because my spot holdings are held on SwissBorg and on Mexi or KuCoin. So it's not designed to be something that you watch all day, every day. If anything, that will just completely fry your brain. It's a set and forget, check back in a week, maybe check it every 3 or 4 days. It's not designed for you to sit and watch the trades and second guess what's going on. The bot's been tested. It's got decent results over the period, but there's going to be times it's trading, so there's going to be risky times. But over the whole, if you just set it and forget it, you should make steady gains, and that compounding is how it adds up, so that at the end of 6 months you can look back and you might have only made $5 one day, but those $5 slowly add up and compound. So that's the bot. If you want to take part, you need to be in CC Pro. You need to use the CC Pro link, and make sure you hit copy immediately. Otherwise, you're kind of waiting for the next round of trades to kick off. Bitcoin dominance, to me, looks very similar to the DXY in that we put in this high, which this wick's a bit of a fraud wick. Ignore that huge wick, it's a bit of a fake move. This wick here, I would say, is more likely the accurate top, around 62.27. We dropped down, we retraced up, but we couldn't make a new high. That's a bearish, weak pattern. So that to me suggests that this top will stay valid. It's also backed up by the fact that ETH versus Bitcoin has failed to drop back down and test this wick low. Even today, we've had this wick down and it's been bought up. So to me, I think this bottom is going to stay valid. And if we look back in time, we can see we've hit it 3 times before. This was in 2021, before altcoins went in to put a new all-time high in. This was in December 2017. Altcoins topped 1 month later in 2018. So typically bouncing off this level is the start of a very bullish period for altcoins. Yeah, Shiv, you can have as many accounts as you want because it doesn't use KYC. So you can, that's what I did. I had an account from ages ago, and then I just set up a new account using the referral code that Dex dropped in the chat. So you can have as many accounts as you want. Kieran, where do you think we are in comparison to previous bull runs, sentiment and news and narratives wise? I spoke about it earlier, but this period here, I don't know how many people tuning in were in the markets in summer 2021. I was quite new-ish. I kind of got into crypto 2019 into 2020, but this was kind of the first major time where I thought, what is going on? This is crazy. Because like, this was kind of when I learned that all the narrative is just junk. It's just absolute nonsense. Around this time is when they announced El Salvador. There was a Bitcoin conference, and every story coming out, it was up here, was like Google's going to use crypto. You had stories about, I'm sure it was Polygon or VeChain, or somebody was partnering with Barcelona. McDonald's were going to use, or Coca-Cola were going to use crypto. All that was happening around this top here, and then we just absolutely tanked, and retail got destroyed. People couldn't understand how El Salvador, a country finally buying Bitcoin, putting it on its balance sheet, wasn't bullish for the price. And it just, that was probably the biggest lesson, was just ignore the news. And actually, now that I look at it, so hopefully everybody's been here from the start, but one of the things we showed is typically when Bitcoin bottoms, we have capitulation event, we then have a little bit of a rally, we drop down again, we recover a bit, and then we finally go in and put a new low candle close down at the bottom of these wicks, and that marks the bottom. I showed this earlier, but if we look at it again, we can see this is what happened in 2023. So we had the capitulation event, we recovered, we came back down with some wicks back into that area, but the final bottom was actually a candle close down at the bottom of these wicks. And that's why I'm saying maybe this is actually the final bullish move, even though it's dropping, to end this period of capitulation. Because we've had quite a few capitulation events now, and I think any news story they can use, tariffs, inflation, no rate cuts, Bybit hack, we've had them all in here, all when the price is down in this range here. So we've had wick down here, we've had this capitulation, another capitulation, and then finally we are going to hopefully get a candle close down here. And this is where you'll hear all your favorite crypto influencers telling you we're going to 70k. And the louder that noise gets, the more convinced I am that we could see some green tomorrow, and that'll mark the bottom. Because we've just demonstrated patterns where that plays out exactly. Let's have a look at some other coins. The total altcoin market, let's have a look at that actually. It's probably better just to look at the crypto market cap as a whole. This is the 3-day chart. 3-day charts are pretty useful, to be fair. You can see that we've not quite closed the gap on the big wick from the 3rd of February on the altcoin market. But when you look back in the charts, we don't always get that proper bottom like Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin follows through tomorrow with some green, gets back up into the 92k area, then I would suggest that was probably the bottom for crypto in general. You can see we're trying to hold this level here as support, which was the July 2024 high. It was then the final test of support before we went on to put in our local high in December. So, to me, I think everything looks pretty bullish if you factor in what's to come. We've got rate cuts potentially. We've got a massively bullish president in Trump who, regardless of what anyone says, is putting pro-crypto people in the positions that the crypto industry needs for it to be successful. And what we do know about Trump is he's a businessman. He believes in the US stock market. He believes in capitalism. And he's going to want the stock market and crypto to be pumping to determine his success, create growth, create GDP growth for the US. That's essential to his legacy. So I do think he's going to be very bullish for Bitcoin and crypto in the long run. Everybody forgets as well, he only took office a month ago. So the election might have been 3 months ago, but Trump actually only took office in January 25th. So we've got a long time to go, and people just need to have cool heads, chill out, and be patient, because this market's got a lot of gains still to bring. So overall, hopefully that has settled some jitters. I am very bullish on the months ahead. It's not nice seeing red across the market day after day, but it's part of the game. And once you kind of get at peace with that, then it becomes a lot easier. I would not be surprised if we don't see some bullish news over the coming days to try and get prices out of here. But in the meantime, don't get shaken out by FUD in the market. I think at these times you'll see crazy predictions. I'm not here to give you a crazy prediction of 70k, 65k, anything like that. Just show previous patterns that have played out, and I do think that we are at the ending phase of this correction. That's all for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed that stream. We'll be back with much more. If you're not in CC Pro, the link's in the description, and sign up to BloFin using the code below to take part in the trading bot. Thanks very much for tuning in. I will catch you very soon.